book could really be called How I Got Bin Laden. It's not really a spoiler because, of course, you know that's what happened at the end of his first term. But I really do like this book. I've really enjoyed it. You could also call it The Problem with American Politics Today and How We Got There. Or I guess you could call it something along the lines of Barack Obama, The Problem with My Nobel Prize. There's loads of different takes on this book, and it's a really rich book. And actually, A Promised Land is a fitting title. It's exactly what you'd expect from a massive bestseller. It's an incredibly polished and well-edited read. It's got really well-constructed story arcs and an interleaving of these tales, which makes it really readable. But it still retains the air of authenticity of being written by him himself. And I think actually, I listened to this on an audiobook, and it was read by Barack Obama himself, and I think that also lends to that air of authenticity. You see, that's actually my wife's copy, and I don't get much time to sit and read, so I listen to books on Audible now. And there's a link in the description if you wanted to try that. A little bit more on that later. When I started the book, I was wondering how much he'd really be able to reveal about his time in the presidency. And although there's probably a lot that he couldn't say, you don't get a feeling that there's a lot of censorship gone on. And I guess it tells you that this is really just a story about a man and how he had this kind of journey into politics, kind of being thrust into the limelight. How he had a whole lot of expectations, being that first African-American president. And even that, he's almost embarrassed to be given the Nobel Peace Prize. But of course, to everyone else, having this man as the president was a massive deal, was a great achievement in itself. But I think that he felt a bit embarrassed getting that award just after 1 year of being the president, and as he saw it, not really doing anything of great import yet. So my favourite bits of this book is all the discussion of the campaign and how exciting that must have been, and all of the kind of tactics of that campaign, the near misses, the things that went wrong, the elation when things went right. I thought that was absolutely fascinating. The bits that weren't so good was, for me, listening to him, how he dealt with the financial crisis isn't as interesting as that kind of more personal tale of electioneering. But it's an important thing, a massively important thing that he had to do in his early term, so you can see why it's there, dealt with in such detail. And of course, as I've alluded to already, it all culminates in the climax of when they finally got Bin Laden. And there's quite a lot of candor about how difficult it is to be that person making those final big decisions. It's also fascinating because, for me, Barack Obama left a great legacy, and a really real legacy. But for him, he struggled to get through all of the things that he wanted to do. And there's this kind of gradual coming to terms from being an idealistic young man to being a more realistic and more pragmatic person as time goes on. And the fact with American politics, with all of their checks and balances, which are really good and really important, which limit the amount of individual power any one part of the government has. But that's meant that throughout most of his time in office, he was kind of blocked by a Republican Party that was just intent really on blocking anything that he did because that was popular with their votership. And unfortunately, I think the hangover from the race for his presidency between him and McCain, and importantly Sarah Palin as McCain's running mate, that really cleared the path for somebody like Trump to get into power. And all of this fake news and targeted media which plagues politics all over the world today. So that's not his fault, but when you are such a leader as him, it's not a surprise that there was such a reaction afterwards. And the legacy of him actually being that person, not because of the colour of skin, but the change in the rhetoric that comes from politics, that is real, that legacy is real, and that will be lasting. And luckily now there's been a second reaction against Donald Trump. So as I said, I listened to that book on Audible rather than read it in book form, and it's really good because it's actually read by Barack Obama. If you click the link in the description to the Audible, you'll see it's massively expensive, but you can actually just get it for your subscription from Audible just with 1 credit. And if you try the free trial, you can get it completely for free and keep it. There's a link in the description for that. So I'm someone who don't get much time to actually sit down and read, so I listen to books in the car now. And I recommend Audible to anyone who's got any of that time where you're commuting, maybe sat on a bus with your earphones in. It's a great time to be consuming written words.